All right, let's go ahead and get started. Thanks everybody for joining and for lending us your time. Good morning, good afternoon. My name is Andrea Marks. I oversee our customer success team here at Taqtile. I'm joined today by Joe Kluke, who heads up our North American sales team, and Johnny Gorvet, who heads up our technical solution consultant and implementation team. Today, we're going to talk about how we're using Manifest to modernize inspections with AI-powered digital workflows. We're so happy that you're here. Here's what the agenda looks like. Joe's going to talk through the challenges with traditional inspections and how to transform your inspections. And then Johnny will lead us in a live demo. Then we'll take some time for live Q&A and hopefully get all your questions answered. Welcome, Joe. Over to you.
Hey, everybody. Thanks for joining us today. As Andrea said, my name is Joe Kluke. I lead North American sales and I do some of the delivery work as well as projects come to be. But for those of you who are new to the call, I know we have folks on the call today that know a lot about us already. But to give you some background, our company is called Taqtile and our primary product is called Manifest. We have been around for some time now, since 2011, which, for those of you who don't know, we did start in the AR field. So, augmented reality started working originally with Microsoft when it came to the HoloLens and their initial launch of the product. The product has come a very long way. Digital work instruction platform that can be used in an augmented reality setting as well. Mostly what we'll focus on today is going to be tablet, phone, more desktop type applications, but our origin definitely was in the augmented reality space. We are based in Seattle, Washington. We do have development in Tucson, also a global company, so we do have other locations as well. Here's just a couple of examples of partners, customers. We work across the board when it comes to either large scale enterprise operations and even small, mid-size, and even startup type companies. So we do work across the board with lots of different types of clients. So why are we here today? Mostly to focus talking about inspections. And we could also lump in preventive maintenance into this category to a certain extent. But we're going to try to stay focused mostly around the inspection workflows that the product offers. And there are quite a few different types of inspections. These are the three that we tend to run into the most. And these are some of the reasons on why you would do them and why it's important to have a process around these types of inspections. First and foremost is going to be safety. And mostly that's going to be focused on reducing some kind of incident that might happen or even some kind of regulatory compliance. You're being forced to do things in a very specific way. So you have these safety inspections that could be on the health side with cleanliness and making sure that everything is up to speed. It also just could be from an overall safety. So you're not having these like hazard incidences in your organization. The second one that we would focus on would be quality inspections. Inspections, we're actually inspecting a product before it goes out the door. This is mostly going to be focused on identifying these defects that might hit a customer before they hit the customer. Let's make sure we have good quality inspections and let's make sure that there aren't either incidences because of a defect or just from a monetary perspective making sure that we don't have product coming back. We want to make sure that we're as focused on having a good, happy customer and making sure that the product that we put out the door doesn't come back to us, increase customer satisfaction on the quality side of things. And that ultimately is going to reduce the overall cost associated with us putting out the product as well. And then lastly, maintenance. So maintenance, making sure that you're staying on top of equipment that might be inside your shop. So you have lots of equipment, making sure that you're maintaining that equipment. Maybe you have someone else who comes in and helps you maintain the equipment. You might not have staff that's actually doing any kind of repairs, but if you're staying on top of your inspections of the equipment, your downtime on the equipment, that just means you're going to have more output from the machines on your factory floor, and the machines are going to last longer. So having good quality inspections on your equipment is also a very important thing to focus on. So what do we see when we go out? So I go out to a lot of different manufacturing floors. I see lots of equipment, some brand new equipment, some very old equipment that's out on these floors. But the main thing that I see when I talk to customers from a challenge is the inconsistency. So you might have a trainer. That trainer trains somebody how to go through these inspections. Every trainer has maybe a different way of going through how they do the inspection. There's not a consistent process there. There's also a skills gap. Normally, I would show a graph that talks about the complexity of machines and the turnover or the longevity of employees on staff. So you have this skills gap where you have people who have been with the company for a really long time or leaving the organizations, and then you have new people who are coming in, and the amount of time that somebody might spend at an individual company is getting less and less. So you have this skills gap. So being able to quickly get people up to speed is extremely important, no matter what the task is, but especially when you're talking about inspections, inspecting the equipment. Lastly, or not lastly, but here we also have data capture. So capturing data. How do you capture data? Right now, when we work with clients, a lot of times what they're doing today is still a piece of paper. It doesn't matter what the organization, how sophisticated the organization is. When they're doing an inspection, they're printing out a piece of paper. They have a checklist. They have to go through the checklist, and then there's an administrative burden that takes place. So how are you capturing the data digital fashion today? So that is a challenge. Data can be lost and it can be prone to human error. You could write down the wrong thing. You could check the wrong box. There's a lot of different things from a data capture perspective that can happen in inspection. Record keeping goes with the data capture aspect of things. If there's nothing quantifiable that you can keep, like that keeps track of who's doing what, how are they doing it, what date did they do it? If there's no true measure that's automatically captured, that becomes a problem because record keeping paper can be lost. Records can be thick, fat thumbed, and you put in the wrong number. So, all of this, there can be prone to human errors. Also, just on the back end, how do you access this information? How do you pull it up? How do you manage it? How do you make sure that it's all kept in the right spot, in the right folder structure, so when you need it, you can quickly pull it up? And then lastly, single validation. So if you're one person going through an inspection, you really are the only point of validation unless you have someone looking over your shoulder, making sure you're doing it the right way and making sure you're recording the information the right way. So it's still a single point of validation. So these are the main things that we run into when we're talking to clients today. So how can we, and you'll see a lot of this as Johnny goes through the live demo, how can we help you control some of this? How do you enable workers to make sure that this is easier for them? So you want to drive consistent execution. You want to make sure that your procedure and the inspection that people are going through is exactly the same every single time. So being able to create this procedure in a very easy way to follow is critical. In fact, a lot of times it's the most critical point. Whether or not they gather the data or they put the right information in is important, but if they don't know how to conduct the inspection the right way in the beginning, that's the most important thing. So having a very consistent way to execute these procedures and these inspections is critical. And then digitizing the fault. So if they find something wrong, how do you capture that? How do you organize it? How do you make sure that the data that is getting put into the system is accurate and can be used on the back end? Also, we had talked about single point of validation. You know, what AI can bring for you, it isn't a replacement. You're not looking to replace people. You're actually just looking to enhance those individuals. It's a second set of eyes. So I can go out and I can use my eyes to actually go through the inspection and do it, but I can also use AI to validate and give a second set of eyes to that situation and then have a record that not only did I sign off on it, but also some of this trained AI tools on the back end are validating it as well. So you have 2 points of validation as you're going through these inspections. Automatic record keeping. Technicians hate to do the paperwork. administrators probably hate to enter in the data into the system. So if you're working with a manual system today, what you would do is you have a piece of paper, you're check marking that piece of paper, you're maybe having to turn in that piece of paper, then that paper is then inputted into another system. There's so many points of failure and there's so much additional administrative work on the technicians or the administrators who are actually entering this data that it becomes a burden. Instead of automating that as they're going through, they're capturing this data. It's automatically then going into a system or a record is being created. So how do we make it easier for the technicians? How do we make it easier for the administrators to not have to manage all of this data? And like I said, also on top of that, just a less administrative burden, automatically data organization. Instead of having a file structure for every single asset that goes out to a customer that has some information in there that somebody's manually managing, what if this could just be all managed by one tool that's organized in the background so you can just extract the data when it's needed for somebody who's going to come in on the back end to do some kind of audit, or if a customer says, hey, there's a problem with the product that you sent out to me. These are like critical things that happen every single day. And so how do you automate that? How do you make it easier? How do you make it less likely to have wrong data or incorrect data on the back end? So for us, we've developed a product that gives you two areas to focus on. We have Maker, so creating the work instructions. We've embedded AI into Manifest Maker, and it allows you to take a video. Most people today, if they want to learn something, if they want to understand how to do something, they're going to video. They're not typically going through a long manual that maybe in the past that's what we did, or maybe if that's what you have, that's not how people today typically are going through and learning. So we could take a record an operator going or an inspector going through these procedures, and we can take that person and we can replicate that every single time, and we can have AI help you do that. So we have Manifest Maker. We're not going to demonstrate that today, but that is a tool that's available to you today where you can actually just record somebody going through an inspection. We have some tools in there. And again, AI isn't meant to replace the person. The person still has to create the content. Still have to double check the content. We're just enabling you to make this job easier for that individual. You still need to double check all this stuff. It's not magic yet. And frankly, it's going to be a little while before everything is magically created because we just don't have the data. We don't have the videos. We don't have all the information for your unique inspections to be able to tell AI to do that. So we give you a tool to help you make it easy to create these content. And then on the back end, we make it easy for the user, the technician, the inspector to go through these procedures and capture data on the fly and then organize the data on the back end. So Johnny's up next. He's going to give you a live demo, but this will just give you an idea of what's important. And Andre, if you can push through the slides a little bit here more. This will give you an idea of what the tool looks like in a flat 2D type mode. Also operates on a phone as well. But like I had mentioned, the enriched media is the center of attention here. We can take the documents that you already have. So there might be regulatory documents that you have to have. There's just no way around it from a regulation perspective. You have to have this documentation there. So you can take that existing documentation, you can add it to the asset, and you can bookmark specific pages for certain steps to make it super easy for you. But the star of the show is going to be the job aids, right? Like short video clips on how to do this part of the inspection. Little photos that are marked up that show them exactly what they need to inspect or what a problem might be when they find an inspection. Some examples of what a faulty weld might look like, or what a faulty need to look for a screw that's missing or something like that. So these are just job aids that go along with the detailed manual that you might already have. And then lastly, to operationalize it, you have to have ability to leave evidence. You have to have the ability to mark faults. You have to have some kind of asset and history behind that so you can have a record of who did what, when did they do it, how long did it take them, what meters were collected, what evidence was collected. All of this needs to be able to be done on the fly in real time. And that's what you're going to see next. So that's the high level of inspections, what we do for inspections, how we could potentially help you with these inspections, how you can make the technician and inspector more efficient and happier because they have these tools that make their job and take away some of the administrative burden behind their job. So Johnny's going to show you now what that looks like. So I'm going to pass it over to Johnny, and we'll circle back at the end to talk about what you saw from Johnny's demo.
Great. Thank you, Joe. So I will jump in quickly and share my screen. One moment. Okay. So hopefully you can all see my screen now. I'm sharing Manifest, and today we'll go through a short demo, as Joe and Andrea have gone through, around how Manifest, our core product, can modernize inspections. And how this can be done with our AI-driven digital work instructions. So we'll focus to start with on the iPad that I'm logged into at the moment. And if you have run through Manifest or you're familiar at all, this will be a very familiar screen to you. It's the home screen for the end user, the operator who will be doing the inspection. Really, it's the place we want to start people off at. And this is where you can see all of your jobs, which are assigned, in progress, and any you've already completed. So today, if you look on the right-hand side, you can see I've completed a few repair and maintenance inspections, placard inspections, and actually I've got a placard inspection in progress. But we'll ignore those for the moment. And what we'll focus on is in the assigned bucket, we have a high priority job that I need to complete, which is a daily inspection on a TB20. So TB20 is the landing gear that I have in front of me, and we'll be going through a brief inspection. Now, this inspection will really focus on showing all of the use cases and features we have within the capabilities of Manifest. So as Joe said, focusing really on the instructions of the 2D media, but then also capturing the data as we go along. So I'll start off by opening up this job card, and you can see we are brought to our work instruction. Now I'm ready to get started. I've got the asset in front of me. So at the top, I can select Start Job, and this kicks off the job with a timer starting. And now all my interactions with this task are going to be recorded. All the data I capture, all the steps I go through is going to be captured for this inspection. The start of this inspection, I'll need to look at the top of the screen, which is where all of my instructions will appear. So you can see this is the first step of the inspection, and it's just asking me to locate and record the serial number of the equipment. Now, in the center of the screen is where all that secret sauce, all that 2D media, the photos, videos, 3D models, all of that data that Joe was talking about, that's where this appears in all of the useful real estate of the screen. So to start with, I have a nice simple text note just telling me where I can find this serial number. And it says it can be found on the side of the landing gear below the attached QR code. If I simply swipe over to the right, I can also see I can have videos, photos, and in this scenario, a schematic of that landing gear highlighting where that serial number will be. Now, I can see it in front of me. You will see this landing gear later, don't worry. But there is one, I can found the serial number. Now, before I move on, as we're doing this inspection, I do want to leave some data. I do want to leave some evidence of my inspection. And in this scenario, I cannot move on to the next step until I leave that data. So on the right-hand side, you can see there's a done button, which is slightly opaqued out, but the add evidence button is highlighted in red, meaning I have to leave this evidence. So I'll select the add evidence button, and I'm being told I'm required to leave a text note as evidence. So I'll select text note, and really simply, I can type in the serial number, which is 20 MBL 01. I'll hit save, and that serial number is now added to this work instruction under my name, under step 1, and we can move to the next step. So I'll hit the done button, and step 2, at the top of the screen, you can see it's asking me to inspect lower linkage connections are set up correctly. Now in this step, we do have a nice 3D model we can bring in, and you can see this 3D model is also annotated with 3 colorful arrows and 3 leader lines leading my eyes of where to look. And this is just a great visual guide if someone's doing this task for the first time, perhaps, or maybe they just want the extra reassurance that where they're looking, where they're doing this inspection is in the correct place. This 3D model is, you can manipulate it, you can move it around, scale it up. It's really a useful tool for that immediate visual guidance. But often we do also need to bring in, as Joe said, the law if it comes to some of these inspections, which might be pre-existing manuals, pre-existing data. So on the left-hand side, I can select bookmark, and we can I'll bring up a full PDF manual. And these can be hundreds of pages long. But importantly, we can actually pinpoint in Manifest the specific page that someone needs to be on for a specific step. So rather than me scrolling through all of this, trying to find the data, I can be pinpointed to the exact page that I need for this inspection. Now, maybe a manual isn't needed. So what we can also do, again, is bring up any images that we've added, any images that we've created. And the image you see here was actually created in Manifest Maker, again, on the iPad. And we have some really great tools for marking up those images to make them a bit more user-friendly to someone going through this work instruction. You can see those are the 3 points that I'm looking for, and there's a nice text description at the top as well. So I can do that inspection in front of me. And again, I'm being asked to leave some evidence here, this inspection. So I'll select the Add Evidence button. And instead of leaving a text note this time, I'm being asked to leave a value from a list. So I'll open up this list and I can see the options I have are the linkage connections fully detached, or as 1, 2, or 3 points of connection confirmed. So in front of me, the landing gear, it has all 3 points connected, and I'm happy with that. So I can select this point and I can hit save. Again, this is captured in the work instruction, captured for this step, assigned to my name, and it's documented that this inspection has captured this piece of evidence. So we can move on. I'll hit the done button. Again, we get a nice 3D model of the asset that I can manipulate and I can view. And again, our instruction here is asking me to inspect the landing gear shock strut for any leaks and cracks. So I can see that's the central strut I'm supposed to be looking at. And then you will guess it, we can also bring in some pre-existing or some captured data. So an example of what some cracks would look like in the central strut, but then also a video showing what to do if there's any leaks, how to clean the device or the asset, and then make sure we have a nice, clean and safe piece of equipment. So if I pause that video, as before, I can do that visual check, and now I need to leave a piece of evidence. So going through the full catalog here, something like this would maybe require something more than a list of a value or from a text note. So really, some of these inspections are going to need photo or video evidence. So you can see here, we are being required to leave a photo. So again, I can open up that evidence, select photo, and you will see I have this landing gear here. And all I need to do now is navigate to where I think the evidence needs to be taken. So you can see we have the central strut here, where I can take a nice photo of as evidence. I think it's slightly dirty, but otherwise there's no cracks and there's no immediate leaks that I can see. So I can hit that use button and we've captured that photo. Now in this scenario, this photo is probably okay for me to submit. But if there was a scenario where an image was super cluttered, maybe you could think of a wiring cabinet or a production line, or even an aircraft engine or a vehicle engine, we do have the ability on the iPad through some native iOS tools to mark this photo up. And this could be as simple as just drawing a box around that strut. We could add some pre-existing symbols, we can add some text, but really we can add some annotations immediately through Manifest to make this photo or make this evidence have a bit more substance and really highlight what we're trying to prove as evidence. Again, just try and create as rich a data set as possible for this inspection and then ultimately for the asset we're working on. So I'll hit save, and when I hit save, again, it will be added to the work instruction and saved under my name for step 3. And all of this can then be reviewed once I complete this task, and it will be cataloged to data against this TV20 landing gear that I'm working on. So we'll move to the next step. And here, similar format where we have inspect tire for damage or imperfections. We have a nice text note in the middle with some formatting telling me some example damages that I can look for. And if I need it, we have a PDF manual here again, pinpointed to a specific page, 105 out of 110, and I can scroll through that as I need. Now, on this step, you'll notice that there's no need for me to leave evidence, so I could move on at my own pace. But from here, having done the visual inspection of the landing gear, I have actually found a small fault, a small bit of damage on the tire itself. So rather than me leaving a piece of evidence which is attached to this work instruction that maybe wouldn't get picked up immediately, what I can do is leave what we call a fault. It's a unique piece of data that can interact with manifest, create alerts, and have a bit more substance than just leaving a photo or a video. So I'll select the add fault button on the right-hand side, and I'll leave a brief description. So I'll just say damage to tire. Maybe I'll put 1 cm deep. Ooh, C deep. So a brief description there. And then just like before, when we leave evidence for any of the steps we go through, we can also leave photo, video, text note. So again, maybe for this example, I will take a photo, bring up the tire, and you can see we have a small section of damage on the tire just to the right-hand side. So I'll hit use photo. I could mark this up, but in the interest of you having already seen that, I will just hit the save button. And the power of what we're doing here is we are creating an additional set of data for this fault that then can be used to help resolve this issue. So rather than just capturing photos and videos and text notes as the inspection data, we can capture this fault and then it can start the process of being resolved. So someone could pick this up, someone who has maybe the qualifications to do, they could then go through and resolve this fault. So there's a couple other features we could do, leave photos, videos, or even AR marker. But for the moment, I'm happy that I've just captured that fault. It will be picked up by someone who's able to resolve it, and I can hit that save button. And you can see we have now left that fault. So I'll move on to another step. And again, at the top, record PSI of tire. We have a quick video showing how to do that recording. And we also have our manual to read through. So very similar format here, really trying to just give that snippets of information immediately when someone needs them so that they can get the job done right the first time. So in the interest of capturing that data, again, we have to leave some evidence. So I'll hit add evidence. And this time we're being asked to leave a meter. And the use of meters is that we can have an individual component or a meter of this asset. So rather than leaving a text note or a photo of the asset, we're leaving a reading specifically categorized as a meter within manifest. So then we can monitor and categorize all of those readings on any daily inspection we do. So I could check the PSI on the tire, and maybe I can put in 54 PSI, hit save, and we have our inspection captured. We've captured that meter, and we can move on to the next step. So I will quickly jump on to the next step. And before I move through into this step specifically, we do also have the ability when manifest to pause any job. So at the top, I can hit this pause button, and at any point I can pause, come back, and continue on perhaps a different device. And one of those different areas we can work on is actually the web. Although web has traditionally been sort of tools similar to Manifest and Manifest itself, an admin portal or a content creation portal, we can run jobs live on the web. So if that's on a tablet, if that's on your phone, or if that's on a PC attached to some production line. So as an example to that, if I swipe across and bring up Manifest on the web client, I'm on the web now, logged in with my same user. And if I navigate to the My Work tab, we can actually still see the jobs which we progress through. So that TB20 daily inspection, You can see we're 71% of the way through, which is perfect. That's as far as we got. We can also see the placard inspection, we're doing 50% of the way through. But for now, we'll focus on completing our daily inspection. So as you can see, we can open up this job, we can hit that resume button, and I will hide those details, give us a bit more space, and we can navigate now through our work instruction. So I can see all of the data that I've already captured, all the steps I've been through, but I'm just on a web client. And this could be on a tablet, phone, wherever you need, and we can start to go through this job again. Now, specifically on this step, we do have an exciting new feature to show, and it's called Manifest AI Verify. And really, this is leading back to what Joe was saying. It's a way that we can capture photo as evidence and compare it to a reference image within Manifest. And that reference image would then come back with either a pass-fail rate based on an accuracy reading or a prompt reading that we have pre-set up. As an example to this, you can see in the center of the screen, we have an example of what the landing gear should look like. And the task is saying, use Manifest AI Verify to inspect if the upper linkage connections are set up correctly. So we have that reference image in the middle. And again, I'm being asked to leave some evidence. So on the right-hand side, I can see the red button. I'll select Add Evidence. Now, we're being required to leave a photo. So I'll select Photo, Take Photo, and again, we can see the nice landing gear here. And all I need to do is take a photo of this landing gear. And with that taken, I can select Use Photo. It will add it to this step. And once it's been added and loaded onto the evidence feature, I can simply select the Verify button just at the bottom. And what that will come back with is a 0% match. Now, what I've noticed is at the top of the photo I took, the linkage connections and the actuators are in the incorrect position. So I'll have to either retry this or override this. So I'll hit the retry button. And what I'll do is take another photo. And if I wanted to maybe take a photo and I was unsure if the verify feature or if my verification of the asset was correct or not, I could even take another one from a similar angle. So hit photo and hit use button, and I could go through that process again. So I'm able to add this photo, this feature, and go through. Give me one moment. Let me just quickly add this. I will do this one more time. So perfect for it to just load in the background. Ah, something went wrong. So let me just quickly reload that. The art of a live demo, but I'll quickly reload that, hit the add evidence button, and I'll take that photo. And just in case I wanted to double check if this configuration was correct or not, I'll hit that use button, use photo. And again, we can verify this. Last time, it wasn't sure that the reference image was correct. So we can try it again, hit that verify, and we can again see 0 match. So what I can do to rectify this is if I had the right knowledge, if I had the right, I guess, qualifications, I could set up the landing gear in the correct format. So I do, and I know that actually the linkage connections need to be set up and opened up before this can be progressed to the next step. So in the background, I really quickly just connected those actuators and linkage connections set up correctly. So I'll retry one more time, hit add evidence, take a photo, and you can see with the linkage connections set up, I can hit take photo, use, and once that's loaded in again, we will hit this verify button. And once that's loaded, this will come across as you can see we have now the left side, the linkage connections appear to be in a different state as the last ones. So I'll hit retry one more time to get this in the right angle, hit photo, and just take this photo. And now that we've added it to the right linkage connections, or the right setup, sorry, we can select the verify. And obviously it doesn't seem to like that verification. So you can see that we do need it to be in the right connection. But if there was an AI verify feature that went wrong here and I couldn't get it in the right connection, what I can do is I can read through all of the mismatches I have. See the left side linkage connections are not connected. The actuator levels are in the wrong position. And what I can do is hit this override button. And what that does is I can see how the AI verify feature failed, which was with 75% confidence, and I can add a fault here. And that adds a fault to this asset to show that we have an issue. And again, someone with the qualifications would need to come and resolve this issue. So I'll hit that add fault button, and then I can move on to the next step, which is the final step, asking me if the equipment needs any repainting or any repainting. And for the moment, I can go through and I can see that I have three options here: no, yes, and unsure. So depending on the option I choose, it would take me down a different path. So yes would go down a repainting path. Unsure would ask me to take photos of the images or the areas which need repainting. But for the moment, I'm going to select the no, and I'm going to hit the done button, which will complete the step and then show me the work history for the assets that I'm working on. These are all the jobs that I can go through. And again, all of this is captured data, so we can review this, either myself as a technician, a manager, an admin task. They can go through this data, these work instructions, and we can see all of the completed inspections that we have. So that was a quick overview, relatively quick, of Manifest on the iPad, and then Manifest moved over to the web portal. And we captured a lot of data, captured some meters, photos, and text notes. And then we also used one of our new features, which was the AI Verify feature. All in all, a really useful tool for modernizing inspections with our AI and digital work instructions. So back over to you, Joe.
All right. Thanks, Johnny and Andrea. So just to give you an idea, one of those features that you saw with AI Verify, that's something that won't even be released until Q2. So that's a newer feature. As things start to play out, there is a learning aspect of things. Right now, the way that it's structured is there's a reference photo, and the reference photo is taken to give the AI an idea of what the end result is supposed to look like. But over time, what it's going to become is a learning model. So you're feeding, when Johnny said that override button, what that's doing is it's sending it back to the system. And Johnny saw that it was right. He knew that it was right, even though AI was giving it a 65% chance that it was right, but it wasn't over the threshold of being absolutely correct. So now that data that Johnny sent back to the system will feed back into the system so that over time it will understand that is actually correct, or it will identify something that's wrong. Maybe it's going to identify that say that something's right, but then with the visual eyes of Johnny during the learning process, he knows that it's wrong, even though it said it was right. You're going to push that back to the system. So over time, the system's going to learn. And as it learns, it's going to get smarter and it's going to get more and more accurate. That's just the general process on how a pilot might actually work with us. As we would go through, we'd identify an inspection procedure, we'd have points of inspection, and over time, as the inspectors are going through that, they're going to be teaching and training it so that it can learn and become smarter and more accurate on the back end. So today it's really just a second set of eyes just to identify using a single picture, but over time the back end will learn and will become more and more accurate. So that's more just based on that one feature that's there, that's new, that we're working on and we're very excited about. As it relates to just these benefits, just a snapshot of some customers that we've worked with and some of the different benefits of digitizing these different inspection procedures. Mostly just focused on error reduction, right? 53% reduction in errors during some of our studies that we're working with, making sure that things are installed correctly the first time. That's critical. Time penalty. That's one of the things that, as you saw during the demo, it took a little while to load up some of those pictures. We're continuing to work on that aspect of things, but what we found is that there's very little time change at all when it comes to doing these instructions this way in a digital manner. And you're also able to capture that information on the fly. So there truly is time savings on the back end as it relates to the more administrative components of things. And then just other error reductions that we've run into with some of the clients out there. And then from a learning perspective, the first time somebody goes through an inspection or the second time, they're still in learning mode. As you get to the point where you've done this inspection 15, 20 times, it becomes more about the second set of eyes. Becomes more about the data collection. It's more about the time stamping aspect of things. But on the front end, it's about knowledge retention. How quickly? Today, it might take somebody 10 times to be able to really get proficient at something. By using this in this way and digitizing it and having it a very repeatable process, instead of it taking 10 times to be proficient, now you're looking at it taking 3 or 4 times to be proficient. So these are the areas that we're focused on, making sure that we're reducing errors, we're getting knowledge and getting people proficient faster. And then we're making sure that they can do it in the same amount of time it takes them to do it today. We don't want this to take longer than what they're doing it today, how they're doing it today. We want it to be about the same amount of time and have all the savings of time being on the back end when it comes to the administrative data entry aspect of things. Just to reiterate what you saw there is just the dynamic workflows that you saw, the branched workflows, the ability to branch and ask questions, the ability to add these evidences and verify some of the evidences, capture lots of media types as you're going through these inspections. And then lastly, we didn't really talk about these last two things, but remote assistance built into the platform, you actually have the ability to call for help. So you could do see what I see video, and you also have offline capabilities. So if you were in an area where you didn't have Wi-Fi, you can actually still pull up these workflows, still capture the data. And when you get to a point where you can connect to Wi-Fi or some kind of internet, it'll all download into the system. So it's all accurately accounted for. So that's kind of what we have for you today. There's nothing more we're here to show. I'm gonna pass it back to Andrea to have her take over from here. But thank you very much for having us, and happy to show you more and answer any questions you might have.
Hi there. I do see a couple questions in the chat. So let me see if I can pull up the Q&A here. We did have a question come in that I answered via writing in terms of device support and what head-mounted devices Manifest is currently supported on. Today, we support Manifest on HoloLens 2, MetaQuest 3. We have demo releases on Magic Leap, Apple Vision Pro, and DigiLens Argo. See if I can see any other questions. I think there's a question about whether or not the recording will be posted to YouTube. But I think, Joe, the answer is yes, correct?
It will be. We're also going to send it out to everyone else that either attended the call or missed the call today. So it'll be sent out as well, the recording.
Okay.
And just to give you an idea, I know that people always want to talk about augmented reality, and augmented reality is just a feature, and it's dependent on hardware. And so as we go through these, most of our clients today are using tablets or phones or those types of devices for a broad rollout, especially if you're talking about inspection or preventative maintenance, using the devices that people already have today. That's typically how these are getting rolled out today. As far as the augmentation aspect of things and hands-free, that's going to change over time depending on hardware that's available. We're available on the hardware that's out there today, but there's new devices, new hardware coming out tomorrow, and new ways of utilizing this in more of a hands-free manner that's going to change that. But the beauty is you don't have to change the procedures. You can roll it out today on the devices that you have and use it the way that people are accustomed to creating this content and accustomed to using these devices today. But in the future, when there's a hands-free option that fits your needs, it's going to be available in that type of mode as well.
Thanks, Joe. We have another question about, does this solution integrate into other planned maintenance software? We do have a public API and have explored multiple integrations. Our documentation is published at api.taqtile.com, but I would encourage you to reach out to us and have a conversation about what an integration looks like and how we could support that for you. There's another question. Can we schedule jobs that are to be performed on daily basis beforehand or schedule it for multiple days at once? I'll go ahead and take this one, but Manifest does not currently have a comprehensive job scheduler. However, something that we're in discovery on is how can we use some of the existing AI models and tools to integrate with Manifest and schedule those jobs for you. So like, for example, in the absence of a CMMS, what tools can we use that exist today that would allow you to talk to our system and create jobs on a schedule and schedule those jobs maybe days, weeks, or months in advance, depending on how your maintenance schedule works.
Yeah, to layer onto that a little bit, we do have the ability to schedule and to schedule more than one job today. So if someone wanted to go in and manually schedule these inspections, they could. But as far as automating, like Andrea is talking about, and putting it on actual schedule that's timed, we don't have that feature function today. The only way today you could do that is through some kind of integration. So if you had SAP and you had work orders coming out of SAP or Oracle or some other tool that might be out there that you're doing your inspections through, you could actually push those jobs to manifest. And so you can automate it, but there is additional work to be done through integration to create that timer.
Last question, can I use the AI verify function right away on Manifest Maker 3.0? We wish. It's currently still in development and testing. Sorry, in quality and testing. We will let you guys know when that's available for your use within Manifest. Anything you want to add to that, Joe?
Yeah, just to clarity. So it won't ever be available on Manifest. I can't say ever, but today and in the future, it's not going to be available on Manifest Maker. It'll be available on Manifest once it's fully published, which I think is scheduled for the end of Q2 for us.
All right, I think that brings us to a close for questions. We do encourage you to scan the QR code and explore the resources on our website. Oh, another question came in. When there's a fault error and an inspection is identified, does or can the fault automatically notify a specific department or person, or do they need to manually look for the fault? Johnny, I'm going to give this one to you.
Yep. So in Manifest, actually, let me turn my camera on to say hello to you all. In Manifest, each asset has a fault list. So if you are an admin staff or someone working and looking at assets holistically and jobs holistically, you would be able to see a list of faults associated with that asset, both from the resolved function or still open function. So you would be able to see that, and that would be either on the iPad or on the web client as well.
And just to clarify, there is no push notification via push notification, SMS, or email. You have to proactively go audit that report to see if there was a fault recorded.
Yeah, unless you wanted to set up some kind of integration that would pull the data and push it to someone. So you could do that. But again, these are not out of the box functionality. These are things that through our API you'd have to use to send a notification to someone or send some information that says a fault is available to be reviewed.
Okay, I'll pause just to see if any additional questions come in. Again, encourage you to scan the QR code for more resources. Also encourage you to download Manifest Maker 3.0. That's available in the Apple App Store today, and it is free for you to use and experiment with. Again, thank you so much for joining and for lending us your time. We are very excited about partnering with you to help solve any problem that you might be currently faced with as it relates to inspection or just digital work instructions.
Yeah, lastly, just from our side, happy to jump on, Johnny or myself or others inside the company are happy to jump on a call and just go individual use cases, answer any questions, give any kind of demonstrations that you might have further questions around. So certainly reach out if you would like to schedule that, and happy to talk you through it.
All right. That brings us to a close. Thank you, everyone.